All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back if you've been here already today, and welcome to the new folks if this is your first time with us today. I am delighted to be here with my friend and colleague, Robin Winn. Let's say hello to Robin. And
hey, Maggie.
yeah, Robin is awesome. She is the best-selling author of 3 human design books. So she's a really important human design expert. Good to go and check her out if you don't know her. You can find her on Facebook. And what's your website, Robin?
It's robinwinn.com, but it's not active yet. It'll be active soon.
Okay, so that's not a good place. They should
And
find
it's actually 4 books. It's actually 4 books on human
it's
design
4
now.
books. Oh gosh, did I miss one? Oh, the essential oils, which hasn't gotten all the way into my consciousness yet. So 4 best-selling books on human design. Yeah, so she knows what she's talking about these things. So we're here for an informal conversation. Robin and I are friends. We're going to talk about human design. We're going to talk about feminine sovereignty. We're going to take questions from you. If you have questions, please do put them into the comments or the chat wherever you are. And Laura, who is here behind the scenes, will help channel them to us because we always like to interact with you as we can. And so I'm just going to introduce Robin a little bit. I've known Robin, I don't know how many years it's been, 4 or 5, something like that. And so we met in training with Karen Curry Parker, and Robin had already been in human design for a decade before that. So I think she just liked hanging around, meeting people and supporting and all of that. But I was deeper in my training, and we just kind of hit it off. And Robin has what do I want to call it? It's like a deep knowing about human design that is far beyond any things she read in a book or learned in a class or anything like that. Like she's got a deep knowing, like in the core of her being, about how this system can support us with our sovereignty and with our ability to show up in the world the way that we want to, and to create satisfying lives based on things that are actually core to our being and that matter to us. And so she's been helping people to do that for a long time, and human design has become a major tool for her. And she's now training people how to work with their clients using human design. Her first book was about clients using human design with your clients. Just know that she's a great resource for you on this end, and always have just the most wonderful conversations with her. So I'm happy that you're here, Robin.
Thank you, Maggie. I have just been delighted with our connection and our conversations. Very alive, very juicy, on the same path, really, on the same trajectory of how do we use human design in a very real, lived way that goes beyond, as we were speaking earlier, the information of human design, takes it into empowerment, truly empowerment.
Exactly. And I think, Robin and I are both really aligned in terms of experiencing and teaching human design as a living system, that it's not just information that you get interested. Oh, this is interesting, and then you leave it, which is what happens with a lot of people when they come to human design, right? Is that they get interested, they kind of go down the proverbial rabbit hole, they read a bunch of information, they get overwhelmed and confused, and then they're like, okay, that was good, I'm leaving. And it's really unfortunate. So if you're one of those people who's had that, please do work with me, work with Robin, because the magnificence of this system to help us to liberate ourselves and grow ourselves is astonishing. And I know I walked away from it initially because I was in a lot of resistance. I was like, what do you mean I'm not designed to initiate? What kind of BS is this? Right? So to my detriment, I walked away for a few years, and that was not good. So don't let that happen to you. If you're interested in human design and you're like, but I don't really know, it's so complicated, you can receive a lot of benefit. And I do think that this is one of the things that in the book Feminine Sovereignty, I really tried to offer these gems from human design that people could take and use. How did you think that went, Raman?
I thought you did a brilliant job. The thing I want to say, and then I'll go into that, is
Mm,
human design is a portal. It's a portal for
mm,
transformation. The
mm,
the 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 information is one thing, but the portal, what it can do for you, how it can shift, you read in Maggie's story, how it shifted her life, how it shifted my life. You get a new perspective on yourself, and you can shift how you live in the world from that new perspective, because we live through the lens we're seeing through. Shift that lens and the world changes, and your capacity to operate in the world changes. And I feel like your whole book is really about that, backing up, taking a second look. What have our assumptions been about who we are and how we operate? And let's look again and make new choices, get a different perspective, see what might be possible that we didn't realize, that we were just operating on conditioning, and that there is a whole new world available to us. So I felt like you beautifully wove human design into the book in a way that was like parallel supportive paths, like really foundational support for feminine sovereignty, truly.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
need, like Robin is a great person to go to for these books on human design and the ways that she's helping us to use that in our daily lives. And I'm kind of we're almost like the inverse of each other, right? Right? Because she's got really deep in helping you understand the system, but then also really applying it to your life. So she's got both of those. And I'm over here with feminine sovereignty saying, hey, human design is an incredible foundation for us, so that we can use this understanding to liberate ourselves. I mean, one of the things I've always loved about human design is how countercultural it is. It's so incredibly countercultural, and it's disruptive of really fundamental. I mean, we always say don't make decisions with your mind. Like just that one, right? You could mull over that
Right.
for a whole year. Just that. Don't make decisions with your mind. What do you mean? Then how do I make decisions? Right? And then guiding us to the authorities, which are all intuitive. Every one of them, they're intuitive. None of them
Exactly.
is analytical. That is radical. That is a radical
Yeah.
proposition.
Talk
And
about turning your world upside down. If you surrender to that and play with it and allow it,
mm,
there's a whole new kind of safety and navigational capacity that comes in, where it's the limited mind set. It's not almost like we've been walking with blinders on, like horses with blinders, thinking this is the way we do it. You take those blinders off and it's like, oh, there's choices here.
mhm. That's what our heroine does in the prologue, right? Like she
Yeah.
decides to take off these blinders and she takes off the bridle and yeah. And I read the whole prologue last week, so it's on my YouTube channel. So if you want to hear me read the prologue, which was about the introduction of our heroine Shiro, on her journey of liberating herself. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. So, so Robin, what like when I'm just curious. I've never asked you this question, but when you think about feminine sovereignty, what does that mean to you?
Oh, well, let's see. So I'm gonna put it in from two different ways of looking at it. One is the word feminine to me means uh, connecting to the intuitive knowing, or the deep knowing that is receptive. It's of the womb, we could say, or the earth, we could say.
Mm,
It's connected to all of life. It's values life and values connection, knows of the interconnection, understands the weave of connection, is not
mm,
separate from. That would be
mm,
the first word, the first approximation I would make with the word feminine. And then sovereignty, I bring human design in with that. It's like shifting our authority back to ourselves. Like we've been trained to look outward, to see what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? To give our authority away to external thoughts, ideas, people, cultures. And the turn is, it's like you say, a radical shift to our own knowing and our own guidance system, truly. And that is human design, the authority, the shifting back to knowing ourselves as the authority in a connected and an understanding of connection. So it's not that individualism you speak about in your book, the cowboy riding off and being the individual. It's really within the context of we are all one. Truly, we are all one. And within that, what is my knowing and my authority in the context of that?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to tell this little story. I was sharing this with Robin before we came on live, because I think that this is a really great example of the power of authority in human design. So authority in human design is how we're designed to make decisions, our own decisions, that we're always, ultimately human design always leads us back to our own selves, to our own inner, it's called inner authority. So I have, as a generator, I have what's called sacral authority. And so that's basically an inner guidance. It's kind of like a trust your gut kind of a guidance. And it like for me, my sacral will be like, or mm-mm. That's how it usually talks to me. Sometimes there's not even a sound. It's just like a body thing. It's like, or like that. So I was getting ready for the book to come out, right? And I submitted the book to Amazon, like almost 2 weeks ago. And I'm excited. The book's ready. It's like, it's all good. It's gonna, yay. I'm done ahead of time. So to me, I was done ahead of time. I'll get it in. Everything will be set up. We're good to go. And I spent 10 days going back and forth with Amazon with things that I did not understand until they actually published the book. They published it yesterday. And I was like, really freaking out on one level. It was very interesting. I got to witness myself, because a part of me was like, well, you know what? No matter what happens, eventually it'll be fine. Eventually it'll be fine. Even if I have to reschedule things. So my logical mind, right? The analytical mind is going, well, maybe we should reschedule. Maybe we should let everybody know that this isn't happening. Maybe we should, put it out a couple of weeks, see what happens. And there's another part of me that's like, logistically, I don't even want to think about that. But this is the mind, right, is doing this. Then my nervous system is going, what's going to happen? Oh no, am I afraid that I'm actually going to get burned at the stake and my book comes out, right? Because I actually have moved through and released a lot of those old ancestral imprints in the past. And so there was a part of me, my nervous system was like, I know, it's like the powers that be, they're not going to let my book out. And then if they let it out, somebody's going to show up at my door and I'm going to end up in jail, man. Right? So this is what's going on in my nervous system. My logical mind's going, oh, don't be ridiculous. Maybe I just might need to reschedule. Come on, just calm down. And my sacral, I'm like, I asked my sacral, should I reschedule? Really? Are you sure? I shouldn't I reschedule? Okay. Are you telling me that it's all going to be fine? I have no need to worry. And my nervous system's going, and my logical mind's going, well, maybe we should, And so I'm in communication with a few of my different, friends and human design people. And I'm like, do I think I should reschedule? And they're like, well, what does your sacral say? Then, well, you got your answer. And it's not easy sometimes to really honor and respect your authority, because it runs counter to what other people say, not your human design friends, but everybody else, right? What your logic might say, what your, trauma body might be saying, right? And the sacral was like completely calm, never wavered. I'm like, okay. And I have been through this enough to know, okay, I'm just going to do it, even though it seems crazy. And then, sure enough, it all got published yesterday and it was all fine. And I didn't have to reschedule anything. And it all worked out. Isn't that wacky, Robin? I still sometimes
Yeah.
go, I can't believe it.
Well, yeah, I know it's unbelievable because it's not in our context. It's not in our training. It's not in, we weren't trained to trust
Our
that
intuition.
larger understanding of connection, time, space, the whole of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is a big example of how this can work out in your life. But I just want to say this to those of you who maybe, either authority is new to you or you've worked with authority, but you're like, but I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know how to, right? Because it's a process of actually liberating ourselves from that kind of conditioning that says, well, you need to like analyze it all and strategize it all and do all that. And it doesn't mean that we don't need analysis and strategy, because we do, but we don't necessarily want to use them to make decisions. We want them as information.
Right.
And then another part of us makes decisions. Yeah. Yeah.
So what you're speaking to, I think, is that when we enter the human design realm, we're really entering a journey of discovery. And it's like you had the sacral yes this time. Next time, that sacral yes is going to be even stronger. It's like developing muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're learning how to live in the world in a new way, outside of conditioning, outside of who we've been told who we are and how we should be. And it takes some practice and some work, actually, to claim that and live into that, to live into that.
Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, as you were saying that, Robin, it takes bravery. It takes courage.
It takes a lot of courage because we're
A lot of
going
courage.
against the known.
Mm-hmm.
We're stepping into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
We're letting go of structures that have apparently kept us safe and secure, and going into a bigger safety. I mean, for your little mind, it would have been safer to do all that work to change it around. But the bigger field had your back, knew this was all going to work out.
Yeah.
And I just want to back up a little bit to our conversation before we got on, which was, I was pointing out, the sun is transiting 44. Your book is being published during gate 44 transit. And you said, yeah, I planned it that way. Right. So you had it, you knew to have it during this time.
Mm-hmm. Will you share with us about the sun transiting the 44?
Yeah. So the sun is in gate 44, which is a tribal channel. It's part of a tribal gate. It's it's part of the channel of sales. And actually, I want to read a little something because I've been thinking about the 44. I was teaching about it this morning, that it's really about knowing when history is about to repeat itself. Like, what's going to happen to humanity if we keep repeating the same patterns and expect things to change and get better? And that you're really sensing with that 44 where we're off course and how we can come back to center and balance. And really, it's through community and teamwork and connection this is all your book. Your book is dripping with this, right? It's like every cell of your book has this quality in it. And you're really looking to see, how do we come into alignment, and how do we create an atmosphere of health and well-being and flow and co-creation. That is the 44. So it feels like you had to do it now. I mean, the book had to come out while this sun is beaming this energy for everybody to wake up to the patterns. And what are the patterns we need to let go of? What are the patterns that we can take forward? And to bring that voice, right? That 44 is a kind of a voice. It's not a throat voice, but it's a voice of, let's thrive. And how do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to thrive? Let's come together to thrive.
Mm.
So that is really what feminine your book is speaking to, how to do that, the nuts and bolts of how to do that together in community.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's about, there's a mantra I've had for many years, which was, when we make peace with the past, we can come fully into the present so we can command the future. And that's an
It's
ethic that I've
beautiful.
had for, I don't know, 20 something years. And so for me, making peace with our past is so important. Not suppressing it, not rejecting it, having the courage. Again, we could talk about, because it does take courage to actually face our past individually, in our tribes, in our world, and digest it. Like, to me, the 44 is about digesting the past. Because it's fear is the fear of the past, or the fear, like you were saying, is that we're going to repeat things, and we will repeat things if we don't change things. I mean, it's just, that is what happens, right? It's like you can't like change nothing and expect to get a different outcome, right? That's your definition of insanity, right? And so we have to change things, and a lot of times to change things, we have to metabolize things that we haven't been able to metabolize, right?
Exactly.
Like, we've just kind of been like, "Oh, you know what? I would rather not. Okay, that was not so great, but you know what? I'm just going to look this way and then
Mhm.
think that I can just move on." But then, the proverbial baggage, right? You're just carrying around with you because you never metabolized that experience, whether that's a trauma imprint as a young
Mhm.
person, or whether that's an experience as a BIPOC person, or, a woman, or a gender, non-binary, wild gender expression person, or your LGBTQ, it's like whatever your
Mhm.
experience is, right? And how do we digest, because we've all been fed this mainstream story, right? Which, in the book, I talk about the story of progress. And the American
Mhm.
dream is a subset of the story of progress. And we're realizing that the story of progress is, um, leading us off the edge of the cliff of climate change, for one thing, right? But also in the way that we are relating to each other in our world. So we have to metabolize our experience in order to be able to actually come fully into the present. So that was a big piece of it, where I was like, ooh, the 44. Yeah, because it'll help us to metabolize the things that we've turned away from because we didn't really know. And that's a big project of the book, is how do we build our inner resilience so we can actually face the things that we've chosen to turn away from in the past because we didn't know
And
any better, or we didn't have the
yeah,
resources, or
totally. I mean, full on compassion for that, right? Like, of course we didn't know how, we didn't know, but it's kind of like you talk about adolescenting in your book quite a bit. Like, it's really adulting. It's really
exactly.
adulting to grow up, and it gets exciting actually to face these things and meet them and have compassion for them and let them go. Let them not be the influence on your life that they are, the active drivers in your life. It's like freeing. It's so liberating and so
Mm,
delightful, really, to meet these places that we've been avoiding and you know yeah, ignoring.
mhm.
It sounds like, oh, I got to do all this work, it's going to be this hard thing, but it's really quite liberating and exciting to actually do the work.
And enlivening,
Enlivening.
so enlivening. So
Yes,
much vitality gets released when
exactly.
we're able to metabolize the stuff we've been dragging around, whether it's, like, for me, from my life experience, or it's my mom's stuff, or my ancestor stuff, or stuff I brought in from some other life, or whatever it is, right? When you can actually liberate yourself from that, you also liberate a huge amount of stored energy in you. So I think a lot of times when people are really tired and burned out, it's because they just haven't metabolized a lot of things. and they're just stored in their energy field. And that's why I also, in the book is like human design is great, but we also need these powerful energy practices so that we can release this stuff, right? Because human design doesn't actually show us how to decondition.
Mhm.
It says, here, look here, look here, look here. But it doesn't say, do this. That's not what the system is. So we need another way of doing that. And Robin's been doing that with essential oils, and there's lots of different ways to do it.
Lots of
And I do
ways.
it with Kundalini yoga. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing is, what we don't realize when we have those blinders on is that we're caught in the form world. When you take
Mhm.
those blinders off, and that I love that about human design too, it's working with the form and the formless. When you take those blinders off, it's a different dimension. You actually, when you have that access to your energy, it's a different world. The air you breathe is different. The thoughts you have are different. The way you are connected to others, you're not separated by form. It's the oneness comes into
Mm.
being in this most way you can't even imagine. How it's like being a kid and not knowing how good sex is, not being able to comprehend it. Like, it's so potent and beautiful. It's
Mm.
really a beautiful,
Mm.
letting go of this stuff is it's
Another
a
portal.
portal
Yeah.
to more of ourselves,
Mhm.
access to more of ourselves and more of each other.
Mhm. Mhm. That's beautiful, Robin. I love to hear you talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite part of the book or something in particular that you wanted to just talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I loved I loved your book. Let's just start there. I really love you're such a thorough thinker and a conceptualizer and comprehensive weave of information and story and potential and how to meet it. It was really
Mm.
extraordinary. I love that finite and infinite games. That whole concept was, wow, that's
You wanna just
interesting.
share what that is for people who haven't read that part yet?
Yeah. So, and you're going to say it much better than I am, but you were referring to Simon Sinek. Is that how you
Yeah,
say his
Simon
name?
Sinek, yeah.
Who brought this idea forward, where those finite games are based on particular rules, and it's very, again, it's in the form realm. It's like very, you win, you lose, you keep score, and it's a very, we could say, a masculine approach, not to diminish that in any way, but it's a certain flavor of how we operate with winners and losers and polarity. Really, it's in the realm of polarity.
Mm.
And the infinite games, infinite games are, uh, there's no end to the game, right? There's no winner, there's losers. There's just continuous, the way I took it, continuous up leveling.
Mm. Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's kind of what I took away from it. I don't know how you would say
Yeah,
it.
no, I think that's great, and I think the main thing, that I would just emphasize is that we get into trouble when we try to play infinite games as if they were finite games.
Yes, yes.
So just as an example, like a finite game is like a game of football or a game of poker or right, just you like a game, right? And there's rules and you know what you're supposed to do and you do it and there's an end, right? And you can do it in a really friendly way or in a not so friendly way, right? So, but the point is it has rules, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Whereas a infinite game is one where the kind of the purpose of the game is to keep going. So, like one of the examples I like is education, right? Like you might take a class and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you get a grade. And so ideally you win that because you get the grade or whatever, right? So you do that thing and it's done, but education doesn't end, right? Education is a thing that goes on. One of the examples he gives is politics. And it's like you can win a campaign, but you can't win the game of politics, just like you can't win the game of education. But if you apply these finite game sensibility really to infinite games, you get into trouble. Because the point of an infinite game is that, and the example I give in the book is a paddle ball. You probably have paid paddleball. There's probably a lot of it in Maui, right? So the idea of about, because I learned this in San Diego when I was spending a long time on the beach, is that you're trying to keep the game going, and so you're hitting the ball back and forth to each other. You're not trying to win the game and, like you win ping pong and they're gone. You're actually trying to keep the other person in because it's more fun. And it's in a chapter on communication. And so one of the things for you to think about is, do you communicate with people as if you're in a ping pong game and you're playing to win? Or is it more of an infinite game where we're trying to deepen our understanding and support each other and move forward together in something that's ongoing, right?
Just beautiful. It's so
And
beautiful.
so many people, like, I mean, when I've done couples mentoring, I just see them doing ping pong. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, stop, you guys. We gotta step out of this because it's right. Yeah.
Again, we're patterned. We're entrained. It's no judgment. We can't judge ourselves for this. We have to have complete compassion. But once you see it, then there's the opportunity to step through that portal to another possibility. There's another way here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Was there something in particular about that with communication that struck you?
Well, nothing's coming to me in this moment. I just felt the power of that shift, really, from, again, going back to polarity, moving out of polarity. It feels like an ascendant state to go to the infinite game. To me, it looks like seeing reality more in its true, larger truth, because that is the ultimate game, is the infinite game. The finite game is finite.
Can you think of an example of how, like, in your communication, you would express being in an infinite game?
Let's see. My mind is going blank here. Like you, I was brought up in a family dynamic where there's a lot of conversation at the table. And I had 5 older brothers, and they were all debaters. They were national debaters, right? They were national debaters. So it was definitely state your sources. There wasn't space for, so it was, who was top of the mountain, who could get to the top, who could be on top. It was definitely a bottom top kind of situation. So I guess when I think of communication, I think of being in presence with someone in the moment, in curiosity, and that takes it into the infinite right there. I think going into the present moment takes it into the infinite, and the conversation that is real and authentic and present and curious without being transactional. I think the finite game is transactional. And I think the infinite game is it's more stepping into the is of contact. And then again, I go back to the oneness. Like, if you're all one, the game it's just play. We're just playing then. It's not for defeat or for
victory, right? Yeah.
Victory, right? It's high play. We're in high play. Everyone wins when we win. Everything continues to be up leveled. And your success is my success. I celebrate your success. I celebrate you with this book. Like, oh my gosh, how great is that? It's my win. It's all of our wins. It's the culture's win. It's the world's win, you writing that book. It's not Maggie, the author, gets all these accolades, whatever. It's not that. It's way bigger than that.
Mm.
It's not, in a way, it's not personal.
Mm.
The infinite game is not personal in a certain way.
I love that. I love hearing your perspective on it, because of course I had my own, right? But I love hearing that. Yeah. And I would say, like, I want to underscore that word, curiosity. I think curiosity is really key, because I was thinking when I asked you that question, I was going, well, what would I say? And I thought, oh, part of it is like asking questions, which is curiosity, right? It's about being, with curiosity. And I know that for you, you trained to be an MFT, I'm a therapist, right? And what do therapists do? They ask questions. They're curious, right? So I imagine that was an antidote to you from growing up in a family where that didn't happen, right?
Right,
Right?
exactly.
So different, like 180 degrees, right? And so like that curiosity and that sense of, oh, like wonder almost, right? Like when you actually can communicate with people in ways that are in that infinite game, there's this wonder, there's this awe, there's this possibility. I think of it as there's a lot more air in the room.
Yeah, it's not compressed. It's expanded. There's an expansion. There's consciousness. Let's put it, it's consciousness. It's a level of consciousness.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot today in all my different conversations. We've been talking a lot about opening up space and creating more room for the mystery to be able to co-create with us and participate with us, right? And that when we get too, analytically focused, we don't have space for the mystery. We're like, I don't need any of that. I'm going to figure it all out myself, And when we do that in our communication, then we don't get the benefit of something new coming in that nobody had thought about before, but that can get channeled through the knowing circuit. That can come in, and we can be like, oh, well, what if we think about it this way? Or what if we look at this issue this way, or whatever that is, right? It's making space for that infinite, like you were saying, that space for the different possibilities to arise. Yeah. I wanted to
Marion, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought. And
when I studied with Marion Rosen, I don't know how many of you know about her, but she would say a muscle can be either contracted or relaxed. And a contracted muscle is a working muscle. And if you have a contracted muscle that you've forgotten that you've contracted, then it's just a tight muscle.
Yeah, right here.
And it has no purpose, no function, right? It has no function. But the feeling, whatever, keeps it contracted, and you become unconscious about it. What your book is all about is saying, look where we've contracted, where there's no receptivity, right? Where we can no longer feel ourselves. And you're inviting, and it's painful at first. It is painful to feel the hand, to feel the unwinding. You feel the numbness, you feel all the pain you try to keep away. But once you do, you're open and available to use that. Right?
I love that analogy. That's great. And it's so true. It's like, I think a lot of the different, like I did a workshop last Saturday with something called continuum movement, which is very kind of intrinsic, small micro movement, exploring the cosmos inside of the form and the auric field, and ultimately in the cosmos. And I was just sharing about, because we talk about having the nap, the continuum nap, because the field is so strong that sometimes you'll go into a part of your practice, and the next thing you know, you're out. And I was just sharing like the relaxation I feel in that moment. And I was sharing, like, I was in bed the other day and I realized I'm like lying there, and I go, I'm holding my head up. I was like, can I just let it go? Right? It's just let it go. Like I'm holding it. Right? And that's what I was able to do in that dive, was I just like total utter relaxation. Every muscle let go. And it was the most extraordinarily restorative thing, because I actually, like you were just saying, it was like I had all this pattern stuff, which comes from being at the computer and all of that, right? And letting it go, again, it's another example of where the mystery can come in when you let go, right? I don't know what happened when I was asleep, but man, I felt like a different person when I woke up. Who knows what the mystery was doing with me while I was asleep, right?
So I just have to say, since you said that because we talked about the 44 and the
Mhm.
earth is in the 24, which
Mhm.
is this energy of looking at things and figuring things out. But the real gift comes when you go into the space between the thoughts. And
Mm,
that's the invitation that you're speaking to. That
mm,
space between the thoughts is where the knowing drops in. And
mhm,
we've been caught in the spin of thinking we know what's right or how to do things or what we should do. And just that relaxation into
mm, mhm,
that nap of consciousness
mhm,
and
mhm,
receiving. Really,
mhm.
it's feminine. It's receiving.
It's very
It comes
feminine.
from receiving. It's
Mhm,
totally about receiving.
mhm. And we need so
Yeah.
much more of that. I mean, people are so exhausted, you know, and just worn out, burned out, confused, overwhelmed. And so we really need support to know how to relax and restore and rebuild. And that's also a big part of this book. It's why it's regenerating ourselves. We
Mhm.
regenerate ourselves so that we grow ourselves into the people who can regenerate our world, because we need that too. And so I want, because I don't even think I've mentioned during this whole time that this book is on sale today. This is my new book. And it is free on Kindle. And I know some people got confused when they were on Amazon and thought they had to join Amazon Unlimited, but you don't actually do that. You can just click the button that says click one, buy one here now, something like that. Don't worry, it's free on Kindle. But get it through our website, femininesovereigntybook.com. Go through there, because we need you to give us your name and your email before you go buy
Mhm.
it, so that we can give you the giveaway. And Robin has a beautiful offering in the giveaway, which maybe she'll share with us about. And then also you get bonused into the 3-session masterclass, Taking Command of Your Life with Feminine Sovereignty. That'll be happening in November and early December. So, I mean, you can always go to Amazon and buy it, but if you want the bonuses, go through our website, and that way you'll be more connected to us as well. So, femininesovereigntybook.com. And we are already #1 bestseller in paperback in women's studies history, which I think is so, like, ironic and perfect, having been a former women's and gender studies professor. and
Totally perfect.
and
Totally perfect.
Amazon put me in that category. I didn't select that category. Amazon selected that category. So somewhere the angels are doing things. The flow of life is working, and it's putting things together in a miraculous way. So my sacral was right. My sacral was right. So I just want to see if anybody out there who is watching has any comments about what we've been sharing, questions that you have, any aha moments, anything that you would like to communicate with us, because we would like to hear from you. Yay. So, Robin, what are you working on right now?
Whew, gosh. Well, one of the things I published a book this year on human design and essential oils. So I've been working a lot with the oils with people and all the different aspects, getting people to connect to their chart through the oils. So that's one
Mhm.
piece I've been working on. And another piece I've been working on is really relational presence and coming into relational presence, coming
Mm,
into the present moment with your chart, with who you are in relation to another person or other people, to step into the presence of yourself and the presence
mm,
of others. So I'm actually creating with my colleague Janette Burghardt in Holland, creating a certification training, adjunct certification training to my coaches certification training. So we're going to be developing that. I'm super excited about that.
Mm.
So.
Beautiful. Wow. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the essential oils? I would think of that as kind of vibrational medicine, but
It is totally
yeah,
vibrational
tell us a little
medicine.
bit about your perspective on that.
So, for example, today in my class, students were studying planets and the gates that their planets were in. So we had them pick a planet oil and pick the gate oil that went with that planet. And we were working with those with the essential oils, seeing what their experience was before they smelled the oils about their planet in that gate and after, and just kind of getting a sense of how we can shift our relationship to our different aspects of our chart even, and awaken more deeply or understand more deeply our experience of our chart. And earlier in a different class, we were working with gate 44 and looking at that, and understanding, again, with the oils, smelling the oils and seeing how that influences us to align with that energy, or experience that energy in a higher frequency way, we could say.
Yeah. I mean, I know lots of people who work a lot with essential oils. I tend to get a little overwhelmed by them personally. Although in small amounts, I do like them. So, but some people, it's like mana for them, right? They just
Some
love
people
that.
just carry the oil around. Like one of my projectors graduates just carries the oil around in her pocket, the projector oil around in her pocket, and has just really grounded her because she was at odds with being a projector. And the oil has helped her, receive her projectorness and think about it and just be in a different relationship to it.
Interesting. So she's not even wearing it. She's just,
No.
well,
Oh, we
she's,
don't wear the oils. We smell the oils. And
oh, you
focus on
don't put
different
them
parts
on.
of the bodies. No, we're using it to cross the blood-brain barrier. No, it's not about wearing. It's about smelling
Interesting.
them and then focusing on different parts of the body, or different, the navel center or the third eye or the heart center, different part, the back, spine, to awaken to allow that energy to flow through our bodies.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you have to go get Robin's book on human design and essential oils because that sounds very interesting to me. So, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that about it. So, is
Mhm.
there anything else that you would like to share today about feminine sovereignty or about human design?
Um, hmm. Let me just sit with that. When I think about it, I just feel this deep relaxation in my body, like
Mm,
the coming home of the invitation to come home. And I mean that home to ourselves and home to the planet, home to each other. That, you talked about the continuum nap. It feels like a kind of deep rest when we fall into our sovereignty. Or, yeah, fall is kind of a good word in a way, because it's a surrender, to
mm,
surrender to a way of understanding and being with ourselves that is respectful and curious and listening.
mm. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. We have just a couple comments here from Reith. Hi, Reith. Great sharing, Robin and Maggie. And then this is from Ratna, and it says, infinite games. When one of us wins, we all win. Yeah, nice. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up. I've had a full day. We're coming back. Oh, one more thing. Coming back at 5 p.m. because we have a raffle. I'm raffling off 3 signed copies of our book.
Mhm.
And then 2 1-hour sessions with me. So we can do a human design reading, or we can do a feminine sovereign mentoring session. So we'll decide what it is that you want, and we may probably both of that it'll all be in there. So you need to register. You just go to femininesovereigntybook.com/win, and just give us your name and your email. and we will pop it into the Wheel of Fortune. And I'm going to run that at 5 p.m. So that's about an hour and a half from now, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is, it's in about an hour and a half. And that'll be fun. So that'll be our wrap up of this day of celebration and transformation. So thank you, Robin, for coming.
Thank
And
you, Maggie, for all you're doing for humanity. It's truly a huge gift.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it makes me feel on purpose. So that's always a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. See you at 5.